From your local baseball card dealer, this is Kurt Berglund, just in time to completely destroy your holiday budget. You're welcome. I, tonight, am unboxing a game called Pack Wars that I discovered on Delphi and followed the link and used all of my technological skizzles, if you will, to put the rules together and give you a brief rundown of how the game works. I have put all of the necessary charts and information that you need onto 2 pages that look like this. I am going to post those at Facebook page called Universal Baseball Association, aka Tabletop Baseball Plus, and they will be found there shortly after I post this video. I'm also going to take videos of the 2 pages, so if you want to freeze frame it and just jot down the notes, you can do that as well. Your call. In this video, I will not be doing a full game demo. If you want one, tell me in the comments below this post on YouTube. What I am going to do is to go through how the game works, and I think you'll find that it's a simple, fun game, and the best part of all is that you play it using your very own baseball cards. There's nothing to download, there's nothing to buy, that's it. You need your cards, you need 2 D10s and 1 D20. If you have these at your disposal, and you have the 2 pages of information that I will provide you, and you have baseball cards, you have everything that you need to play. There's nothing to buy, and there are no downloads. You can't download anything. You can't even, if you want to, download something. You can't do it. Nada. All right, let's get started. Pack Wars Baseball starts with earned run average from the pitcher. So the first thing we need to do to understand how the game works, the pitcher-batter dynamic, the pitcher-batter interaction, if you will, works like this. Let's go to the video. In front of you are 2 baseball cards. One is a 1994 Topps anniversary card for Nolan Ryan. We're going to use his 1993 stats, and a 2020 card of Brock Holt. And so we'll be using his 2019 stats. And of course, this is my chance to talk about why the Brewers would launch a guy who doesn't even have 40 plate appearances who could actually help the team score runs. All right. So let's break this down. First thing to look at is Nolan Ryan's statistics, and I'm sure you can see that. No, you can't. Let's look a little more closely at the earned run averages. What you should see is that in the year 1993, Nolan Ryan's earned run average was a 4.88 with the Texas Rangers. 488. All right. Now that tells us something. It tells us that we need to look at the chart for Pack Wars earned run averages. And it looks like this. Right in this column, We start with an earned run average on the league average, they're saying, of 4.0 to 4.49. If you do that, you get no adjustment. If your earned run average lands in here, you don't make an adjustment. It goes up every half of a run. It goes either down if you improve, you make a -1, -2, -3. So if the earned run average goes from 3.5 to 3.99, you make an adjustment of -1. 3.0 to 3.49, you make an adjustment of -2. 2.5 to 2.99, an adjustment of -3, and so on. Well, for Nolan Ryan, we're going in the other direction. It's an earned run average of 4.88, so we look at 4.5 to 4.99 and say, ooh, Nolan's earned run average falls in there, so we make an adjustment of +1. It's a modification of +1, but +1 to what, you're asking? Good question. Well, here's where we do our calculations. For the 1993 Nolan Ryan card, we have a 488 earned run average. That means a +1 modifier. Alrighty. So Brock Holt in 2019 had a 297 average. Let's look at his card, and I think we'll see it probably a little better, or maybe not. In 2019, he had 297. Let's bring that in tighter. There we are. 297. Are you nauseous? Are you nauseous yet? If you aren't, I'm not doing it right. All right. So, Brock Holt's average, you can take my word for it, in 2019 is 297. So we round that up. We only look at the tens and the hundredth spot. So we're looking at 29. But there's a 7, so we round up. So it's 30 hit chances out of 100. We have 28 walks that Brock Holt has. Take my word for it. He gets a +2 walk addition because we round down on walks. So even though it's an 8, we round down to 20, and he gets +2. He gets +1 for every 10 walks. +1 for every 10 walks. So he gets 32 on base chances. But wait just a minute. We said Nolan Ryan has a +1 modifier, didn't we? Yes, we did. So Brock Holt has 32 on base chances all by his lonesome before modification. But then we come back and we add 1. We add +1 to Nolan Ryan's modifier. We'll call it the NR mod. So he really has 31 hit chances. +2 walks. So there really are 33 on-base chances for Brock Holt. One more time. The 297 average, we forget about the 7 except as a round up or a round down tool. So the thousandths place is just our rounding tool. We look at 29 out of 100. We round up because there's a 7, so we're at 30 out of 100 hit chances. Then we check his walks, 28 walks. He gets 1 additional walk for every 10 walks that he has on his card. Well, you can find out that data right on his baseball card. All right. So you do that, and you find out Brock Holt had 28 walks. And so that means we round down. We forget the 8. We round down. There's 20. He gets 1 walk per 10 walks in real life. So he gets +2 walk chances. gives him 32 natural on-base chances before we modify, but Nolan Ryan's earned run average is too high, so it's a +1 for his modifier. That gives us 31 hit chances plus 2 walks, giving us 33 on-base chances overall for Brock Holt. All right, now we're ready to roll. We're going to roll all 3 of our dice. We're going to roll the red as our 10s, the white as our 1s, and this will give us a number out of 100. We're also going to roll our D20 because we're going to need that depending upon what happens. So we shake and we roll. All right. So we get oops, I think that was a 9. Doesn't matter. All right, so we get a 66. A 66 tells us that it's not, since it's not from 1 to 33, it's not an on-base chance. A 66 is an out chance. Well, we have a chart for that. First of all, let's look down here at the out chart. The out chart right here, it's not a hit D20, not a hit D20. We look to find out what happens. We look at this chart. All right. We rolled a 9 on our D20. So the not a hit chart, and we have a 1 base error. Brock Holt reaches base on a 1 base error. And he's done. Pack Wars Baseball is that in a nutshell. If Brock Holt got a hit, this is the chart we'd look at right here. So let's suppose he did get a hit and it was a 9. So let's change this from a 66 to a 16. Well, then it would be a hit chance. Why? Because we're between 1 and 31. For the 32 and 33, we omit the charts altogether. He draws a walk and he goes to first base. But if we rolled a 16 out of 100 and we still rolled our 9 as our D20, we'd look on this chart for hit type D20, and it's a single with a 2 base advance. This chart tells you what happens if you roll in the hit zone. This chart tells you what happens if you roll in the not hit zone, whatever that happens to be. And that's it, my friend. That is Pack Wars in a nutshell. Now, there are some additional pieces. Let's look at those for just a minute. First, you need to be aware of which way your batter hits. Now, Brock Holt bats left. Nolan Ryan throws right. All right. Handedness matters. Does he have the platoon advantage? Well, if Nolan Ryan has the platoon advantage, he gets +1 to his modifier. If he doesn't, he gets -1 to his modifier. So if you're playing with the platoon, with the splits, if you will, if you're playing with splits, you do +1 if the pitcher has the modifier, which would bring Nolan Ryan back to, +1 if he doesn't have the platoon advantage, he gets a +1. He gets a -1 if he does have the platoon advantage. So if Brock Holt hit right-handed, Nolan Ryan would be back to a no adjustment, a 0 on the modifier. He doesn't, so he's actually at a +2 if you're playing with splits. That's all there is to the splits in Pack Wars. That's it. There's also pitcher fatigue and confidence ratings. So the first thing that you have to do is to look at the pitcher's numbers and determine how many innings they pitched on average in the season. All right? I wouldn't spend a lot of time doing the math on this, but for Nolan Ryan, he pitched 13 games and pitched 66 innings. So you divide 66 innings by 13 games in 1993, and you're going to get rounded, you're going to get about 6 innings. So, for Nolan Ryan, you start with his average number of innings pitched. For every inning after that, he gets +1 added to his modifier. And for every 3 runs he gives up, he gives +1 to his modifier. So you're adding hundredths now to the batter's on-base chances. You're adding ones out of 100 to the batter's on-base chances. If any pitcher strikes out the side, they lose a modifier. It's a -1 because their confidence is high. So you can, if you exceed your innings pitched on average, you get +1 modifier. If you allow 3 runs, every time you allow 3 runs, 3, 6, 9, 12, you get the idea. You get a +1 added to your modifier each time. And if you strike out the side, you subtract 1. All right. Passed balls and wild pitches. A 00 is a passed ball. A 99 is a wild pitch. If you don't get one of those, you re-roll if there's nobody on base. If you want the pitchers to bat, you give them a 150 batting average, so you give them 15 out of 100 on-base chances. You make 16 and 17 walks, and if they bunt, you subtract 2 from their bunting because they're likely not a great bunter. All right. Now, let's talk more about bunting. We have a chart. For bunting, all you need is a D20. The result of your D20 is on this chart. You get +1 added to your bunt chance for every 10 stolen bases, up to a maximum bonus of +5 added to your D20. All right. Sacrifice flies. If you have a runner on third and you say, I want to try a sacrifice fly, have my batter try and go for one. You need the D20, and here are the things that could happen to you based on that. The only one that's not really straightforward is if you roll a 19. If you roll a 19, you could get a single or a double. You roll the D20 again, you multiply the result by 2. If it's less than or equal to the number of doubles that he hit, it's a double. Otherwise, it's a single. If you want to steal a base, stealing a base is a D100. So you're rolling 2 D10s, just like I did for the on base. If you want to steal second or third base, you start at 45% chance safe, and then you add 1% per stolen base that they got to a maximum of 90%. So if they stole 45 or more bases, they get a 90% chance of being safe. Brock Holt, for example, in 2019, Brock Holt stole 1 base. There it is on his card, 1 base. All right, so you'd come back here if you want him to steal second base. You start with his 45% chance. You add 1 because he stole 1 base, and you'd roll your 2 D10s and see if he makes it. That's the way you steal second or third in the game. If you're stealing home, you start with 10% chance, and then you add 1% per stolen base to a max of 45%. So Brock Holt would have an 11 chance, 1 to 11, on the D10s. Now, you're saying to yourself, Kurt, What do I do with a part-time player? They're not going to have good numbers. Ah, you're correct. So what you do, if your player is up to 100 at-bats, and you would know that from your baseball card, you multiply their stats times 6. 100 to 200 at-bats, you multiply times 3. 201 to 300, you multiply times 2. And if it's 301 to 400, you multiply by 1.5. Except for stolen bases, those go by games played. 41 to 80 stolen bases, you can multiply those times 2. So Brock Holt played in 87 games, so we'd have to go just by his straight number. And if he played less than 40 games, you multiply the stolen bases times 4. And that's it. So, we come back here. You now have all of the charts. You have the ERA chart for pitcher modifications. You have the pass balls and wild pitches. You know what to do for walks. You know what to do if you want the pitchers to bat. You know what to do if you roll a hit. You know what to do if it's not a hit. You know how to add for your splits or subtract for splits. You know about pitcher fatigue and confidence. You know about how to bunt. You know about sacrifice flies. You know about stolen base attempts. And you know about how to prorate your stats. And for Pack Wars, all you need now are your 2 D10s and your D20, and you're ready to roll. Oh, and some baseball cards. And you're ready to roll, my friend. You are ready to roll. Want to say one more thing about the hit chart before we depart. On the hit chart, went through this kind of fast. If you roll an 18 or a 19, it's either a double or a triple. To determine which is which, you roll a D10. If the number that you roll is equal to or lower than the number of triples he actually hit, he gets a triple. Otherwise, it's a double. If you roll a 20, you add 1 to every roll. I add 1 to your roll on the batter's chart for every 10 homers on the card. So for any roll on a hit, you're adding 1 to that roll for every 10 homers that are shown on the baseball card. So Brock Holt in 2019 hit 3 homers. Well, that's nothing. We round down to 0 on those. But let's say you hit 40 homers. Let's say Brock Holt muscled up and hit 40 dingers. He would start your D20 hit roll with 4. Then you add your roll to that. So you can end up with more than 20 homers. More than 20 on your roll, and in that case, it's gone. So when we talk about prorating your stats, multiplying your homers is important. Multiplying your triples is important so that you can get an accurate result based on how much the batter played. I hope that's clear. So this is Pack Wars. If you go to Universal Baseball Association, aka Tabletop Baseball Plus, on Facebook, you will find the pictures of these documents that you can download and use for your reference, or you can just take notes off the video to be able to play the game. Enjoy Pack Wars and let me know how you like it. And if you have questions, please let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much. We got to stick together, people. Hope you have a happy holiday and a great night. So long, everybody.